One more minute and then we'll get going. Okay, so welcome SPHS families to our PTSA Summer Activities Forum. I'm so glad you all are here. I want to say a special welcome to our incoming eighth graders. And so glad that all of you have joined us to learn more about what's happening this summer. We have an incredible lineup tonight. We're going to start with Athletics Director Anthony Chan. So if you have a question for Anthony Chan, be sure to put that in as he's speaking, and then he'll take a few minutes to answer some questions. And then following that, we have Stacy Peterson from Speth. She's going to talk about summer school classes and enrichment, and there are some really special bonuses this summer. We also have following that Howard Crawford, the band director, and he's going to enlighten us as to how things are going to roll out as best as he can predict this summer. Then we have Shelley Wilkerson, the librarian, and she has very exciting news about summer reading. Many students may already know about this, but I'm pretty sure most of you parents do not. And so that will be very interesting. And then finally, we will have Janet Anderson, our principal, and she'll talk about any sort of summer opportunities that she knows about in addition to these that might help our students get through the summer. And then we'll have some questions from you parents. So with that, I'm going to take it to Anthony Chan to talk about athletics.
Sure. Let me go ahead and get started here and start sharing a screen. I think that worked. All right. So my name's Anthony Chan. I'm the athletic director here at South Pasadena High School. For those of you guys already have a kid here, hi again. If you guys are incoming, it's exciting to have you guys join us next year. So for athletics, we're kind of looking at a couple of things for our summer plans. Typically in a normal year, we would have most of our fall sports going at some point in the summer. Football like pretty much goes like most of the entire summer. Tennis kind of starts ramping up a couple weeks before school starts. It's normally the fall sports as well as some of the winter sports, like a basketball would do a couple of things or a couple weeks in the summer. But this year we have a couple of things that are going to be a little bit different, mostly because of just how COVID has kind of impacted our schedule. In case you guys are unaware, we kind of had everything thrown at us all at once, where pretty much almost every single sport is occurring in the course of 10 to 12 weeks, and we started in March. So right now, we had about 500 athletes registered and going in the month of March, and we're trying to get 1/3 of the school basically playing matches and finishing them up by graduation. However, with playoffs and impossibility, we'll still be in playoffs into the summer. So it'll be a interesting summer for myself and for athletics. Kind of alleviate some of the stress we've had for athletics and just kind of take a break and give our families a chance. CIF voted against a dead period. However, we're going to take one for our school between graduation, which is on June 2nd, until June 13th, which is a Sunday, meaning that practices can resume on June 14th, which is a Monday. That's just to kind of give people an opportunity to do what they need to do. If you're going to, do an Airbnb or something, that's kind of the time to do it. As far as the teams that are going to be in playoffs, they got to just keep going. We'll be here. Our training staff will be here, and we're just going to keep playing until we're done with playoffs. As far as what we want to do with everybody else, we're going to try to have some summer camps for everybody that's inclusive. It's a work in progress, guys. I'll be honest with you. It's pretty hard right now because we're trying to figure out what's going on between this day and tomorrow and the day after. And shooting for that summertime is a little bit hard right now with a lot of uncertainties. For example, do we need a test if we need to go inside the gym for a basketball clinic or a basketball camp? Are we going to continue COVID testing like we're doing for our kids right now? There's a lot of question marks, but we're working on it. Hopefully I'll have more information for you guys to tell you about what's going on in the summer. But we're trying to have camps for all programs, not just the fall or the winter. Try to get some of those spring teams in. I can't promise you that every single coach and team is going to want to hold some sort of camp to work in the summer, but I'm going to try my best to incentivize it and get teams out there so that kids have an opportunity to go outside, get some exercise. As far as navigating the athletics webpage, you got to get pretty used to this one. If you're incoming ninth grader family, you should get used to this one because you're going to have to do it a lot. Over here on the athletics tab for sphstigers.org, hit athletics. You'll see my beautiful mugshot right here. And then you have an incoming ninth grader interest form. I'd like for all those ninth grade families to fill this out so I have some form of communication that I can know that, oh, you're interested in baseball. Let me give you some baseball updates. That's just so that I can keep things organized and communicate with you guys well. So there's a little Google form there and you fill out like every sport that you're interested in. As far as registration goes, if you have a kid that's here already and is in athletics, you'll recognize that we're still doing healthy roster. What basically happens in healthy roster is it keeps track of all of our clearance documents as well as any injuries that occur. So for example, when we have a kid, well, the first thing is you do all your participation registration all there. So you're going to turn in your physical exam, you're going to do electronic signatures for everything. And I clear everything from there with our athletic training staff. And then whenever there's somebody that gets injured, you'll be notified on healthy roster. You'll also get to see all the things that happen on a day-to-day basis. Every time a kid walks into our training room, there's an iPad kiosk with our training staff, and they keep track of all the services we've provided. For example, a kid comes in, gets ice, that gets tracked as well. They also keeps coaches in the loop, so there's nobody saying, "Hey, I went to the training room, but it was just an excuse to get out of practice or something." So we're really modernizing the way that we approach our training staff and athletics overall. And what we're going to do with this in the summer is we're going to have all of the teams. Essentially, if you're going to go to camp, you don't need to have a physical, but you will need to fill out all the other waivers, essentially through e-signs. So you're going to electronically sign all the documents. If you're a class of 2025, AKA incoming freshman, your registration will open on June 7th. So there'll be a tab for that class of 2025, because at that time we have to start archiving the previous years, and then we'll start opening for the next years. Let's see. As far as physical exams, you'll need to have them once we start having competitions. In the summer, I'm probably going to put out an email saying, hey, make sure you get your physicals exam done in the summer. It is the best time to do them because you have the most time. And it's a good time where there's no discontinuity in service. A physical exam only lasts for 1 year. So if you do it midway through your season, that's a terrible time to do it because you're going to get pulled out halfway through your season until you can get a physical exam again. So I highly recommend getting them in the summer and always doing them in the summer. If you need a blank physical exam that you want to do in the summer and you can't register yet, there's always a link at the bottom of that registration and participation page. And then you can print that out, the second page. Make sure that you get it from a doctor's office, MD, DO, PA, CMP. Please do not bring it to a chiropractor. One of the main reasons why people do physicals exams in the first place is it's about heart problems and issues with respiratory illness. So that's one of the reasons why we focus on it needs to be MD, DO, PA, or CMP, because when they do a physical exam, they're listening for those things. Also get a stamp, of course, because otherwise I don't know if you're telling me the truth. I had a lot of people turning in optometrists and random things like that. Tryouts. I think a lot of people were really curious about tryouts. If you're going to be gone the entire summer in Hawaii, number one, I'm very jealous. Number two, we're going to have to be flexible. We've been asked to get in all of our sports rosters in by August 2021. That means that we're going to have tryouts at some point, whether it be at the end of these camps or further on after camp is way over. The camps are inclusive for everybody. And it should be for anybody that's interested, but at some point we have to have a tryout so that we can get these rosters in. And they'll need to be in by August 2021. So we'll have to organize that. If you're going to be out, you just have to make sure you communicate with the coaching staff. You can find all of the coaches on the Tigers webpage for athletics and just look at coaching staff. Thanks. And I guess at this point, I'll field questions from questions.
Great.
Questions for Sonia.
Thank you. Okay, so when you say August 2021, is there a date, August 2021, that the rosters are going to be set by? Or like if we're back in town by August 1st, is that probably going to be good enough?
So I'm being asked to make sure that I have like rosters by August, like the beginning of August, because our counseling department wants to start scheduling those in. So we'll probably have those by August. So the tryouts will happen like slightly before August, if not later. It'll definitely happen like after we do camps. But we're in the process of figuring out those days and checking the availability of our 60 coaches. So we'll have to be a little flexible. If you can't make a tryout, we're gonna have to figure out when we're gonna schedule you in to do a secondary tryout.
Okay, and do you know when you think you'll have the plan for the summer completed by? Will I assume by before school's over? Is there?
Hopefully before school's over. I'll hopefully have something in 2 weeks or so to kind of give you guys some days, and then I'll have Jan and I will put something out to the wider community as far as these are our plans, these are the dates we've got. Anytime you want to check, you can always check the webpage. I'll have some summer updates and list out all the camps and stuff like that.
Okay, great. Maybe we'll do that as a PTA too, and we'll try and update that in our PTA newsletter as well for you. Which sports have cuts versus which let anybody play as long as they try hard?
Traditionally, like bigger sports like a cross country or like a swimming would be able to have less cuts. I wouldn't say that there's no cuts per se. There's other teams that are more competitive, that are hard to get on. For example, girls volleyball seems to be a very, very popular sport right now for our school. So it's kind of hard to say that everybody's going to make the team. It'll vary. And I don't think I can list out every single program that would be more, more or less like less cuts sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you do tryouts for like 2 winter sports if you're not sure which one you want to do, so that you can kind of make up your mind later which one you want to join, or is that not possible?
I think that, yeah, you could do that. But once you do make one or make both, you'd have to kind of make up your decision. What happens is those coaches will let me know that this is the kid that I want to be onto my roster. Now I'll apply that.
Okay, and you can't play 2 sports at a time, is that correct?
Typically, it's not very common. I think you maybe get 1 or 2 a year that would do like a track plus something, right? But it's very rare. It's got to go through myself and the coaches. It's hard to share because it's not just about playing games. It's about practicing and being part of a team. So it's not really encouraged.
Okay. Will this new summer tryout format be permanent?
Yes.
Okay. If my kid's already at the school and hasn't played before, should I be filling out the 9th grade interest form?
It doesn't hurt. It's just another way for me to communicate. So.
Okay. And one parent mentioned that it looks like the form isn't letting them select multiple sports.
Correct. So you have to fill out for each one. Maybe I'm just not a tech expert, but what it does for me is it gives me a lot of people on a giant spreadsheet, and I can sort by sports and then send emails that way. So you just have to multiply repeat for things that you're interested in.
Okay. Is table tennis a sport you can try out for?
I wish it was, because I'm pretty good. It is not. Yeah, I think years ago there used to be a ping pong club, so that's something that maybe you'd be interested in looking at, but I don't think there is a ping pong club anymore.
And the full list is just there's a way to find the full list of sports on the website again?
Correct. It's on the main page underneath the 9th grade interest forms. It lists out all of our programs and the number of kids over the years.
Okay, great. That looks like all the questions. So
okay,
thank you so much.
Should anybody have questions, feel free to email me. It's just achan@spusd.net, and I'll get to that.
One last question. Yeah. What about cheerleading?
So cheerleading is a work in progress. I think Janet might be able to speak on that a little bit better as far as cheerleading, but we can hit that question at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was one more question I got, which is based on the information we had for the incoming ninth graders Zoom call, we went ahead and had the physical completed already. Is that now a problem?
It shouldn't be too much. I'm hoping you did it closer to the end of April or something. My only thoughts are the physical exam only lasts for 1 year. So if you're playing a sport that's a spring sport and you're playing through April, and midway through April, all of a sudden your physical exam is no longer clear, you'll have to redo another physical exam, which is fine. There's plenty of people that do that. It's difficult. It makes your life harder.
Yeah, and my doctor said I had to pay for it if I got it before the year was up, which was kind of a bummer. And then they also charge if I want it that day versus like 2 weeks later. So that to me was the thing that happened. So that might happen for other people. So there was one more. When is the possible first tryout? Will the makeup be before school starts in August? Just trying to plan for a vacation.
So your best time of vacation is really that 10-day period from graduation till June 14th. As far as when would the first tryout be, that's a little bit up in the air right now. I would say like you might have some of those tryouts, in July. But you'll also have some camps going as well. So I would say probably closer to the end of July, you'll have more of those tryouts as we try to get our rosters in by August.
And those will just be tryouts for the fall sports, is that correct?
The tryouts should be for all sports.
Okay, even spring sports happen in the summer?
Correct.
Okay, I didn't understand that. Great. Okay. Thank you. That really is it now.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
very much, Anthony. Great information. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, so now we are going to move to SPEF. We have Stacy Peterson here to give some information about summer school and some wonderful perks that are happening this summer.
I don't know if they're wonderful, but it's a special for this summer. So hello, everyone. I am Stacy Peterson. I'm the executive director over at SPEF, and it's wonderful to see so many familiar faces and names, and I miss you all and hope we're back to normal soon. So summer school, we've been doing summer school now for well over 25 years. So many of you I know many of your names and know that your kids have been doing summer school since they were in kinder. And oh, there's Miss Grace. Hi, Grace. One of the things for high school is, especially for those incoming high school parents, it now counts. It's no longer about having fun and engaging. It's about these kids want credit where they get their credit. So it's a little bit different. We are going to remain online this summer. It will be teacher-led, but we are shocked about how many people are still interested in Edgenuity. We probably have as many people registered in Edgenuity as we do in the teacher-led classes in a lot of the respects. And I think that's because people are going to visit family, and Edgenuity allows them the flexibility of when they're logging in and working on classes as opposed to sticking to an attendance policy with a teacher. I will say that I think having the teacher-led classes are probably better for the vast majority of students because a teacher can really pace that class for a 5-week condensed time frame, where with Edgenuity, it's the same class that they would take for a full semester. It's all condensed into 5 weeks. So you don't have, they give you a pacing guide to use, but they're not creating or working the content in for a 5-week period. So if you have a child who you think would do better with a teacher-led, I highly recommend that. Because I do think we tend to have more success that way. This year, the district was able, I don't know where they got it, but it's an expanding learning opportunities grant. It's a one-time only grant, and they're using it for summer school classes for high school kids that need recovery. So for this year, high school kids that need recovery, I should say SPUSD high school kids who need recovery will not have to pay for those classes, which is great. So if you have questions, reach out to your counselors about classes for your students, or you're welcome to call me. I spend most of my day right now working through classes with parents to try and figure out what's best for their kids right now. I do engage the counselors because I am not a counselor, but I will help in that. So feel free to give me a call. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, to register, I'm just going to quickly show you. I'm not going to share my screen with you. I'm sorry. It's gone. It disappeared. Just go to our website to the summer school page and it'll lead you through to the registration. It also has the catalog there, which you can download and take a look at. There is also summer camps. Many of our high schoolers and a lot of our summer camps are moving to in-person this year. So we have the opportunity for high school kids again to get volunteer hours. So have your students look at those camps, and if they see anything that they are interested in, they are welcome to reach out to me and we'll get them set up in volunteering, because it is great volunteer work and it's stuff they can put on a resume, college resume, or job resumes as well. And we've had kids that, you know, art kids that love art, and they've done our art camp for 4 summers in a row. So it really gives them some good solid experience with working with kids and doing art as well. That's really all I have. Any questions?
Well, Stacy, we'll take questions.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So remember, everyone, submit your questions for Stacy at questions-Kristen. So next we will move on to our band director, Howard Crawford. Looking forward to hearing anything he can tell us about how our musician students will be able to prepare in the summer.
Hello, everyone. Howard Crawford, band and orchestra director at that. We're all excited about getting started again with our band and orchestra program. It's been interesting doing everything online, but I think we've come up with some really creative ideas, and the kids put together some very awesome projects this past year. But when we discussed a little bit today about the fall, because they just released information that we'll have a fall marching band competition season. You know, on Zoom, you can see everybody doing this. They're excited about marching band, basically. So we will have our band camp this year. We do a 1-week band camp. It will be August 2nd through the 6th. So it'll be a week before school begins. I don't know the hours yet. We have to talk about the hours, but we normally will do an 8-hour day with a lunch where the kids are on the field marching in the mornings, and then we come inside and do ensemble practice, and we have sectional practice, and we're working on music for the fall, whether it's for field show competitions or just pep songs for the football game. Now, of course, the marching band is made up of several of the ensemble classes. They're made up of the concert band kids and the symphonic band kids. The symphonic band, dance band, the kids audition, they get placed in an ensemble with my approval. And then you have the concert band kids are, you know, the rest of the band members. One thing to remember that both ensembles are at very high levels. It's normally a little jump coming from middle school to high school. So don't feel, or tell the kids don't be discouraged because they're in concert band, because there is a little learning curve there. But for the marching band, or the way I communicate with all the kids, just marching band, on the high school webpage, let me share the screen here. You look on the high school page under VAPA, Visual and Performing Arts. You'll see a link. There's one for the SPUSD, Visual and Performing Arts. There's pictures of all the different visual performing arts. We also have a link with our Music Boosters page. And that's normally the most up-to-date information that you'll have, because we have our monthly meetings. And as you can see, we have a monthly meeting coming up, and all the information is shared on this page. And all the information and the parents that you can speak with, and they can definitely keep you in. They handle all our fundraising, they keep an active calendar, volunteering, everything is on that. We also have Facebook pages, one for band, for orchestra. Music Boosters has a Facebook page. We also have this one. This application that I use to communicate with students called the Band app. Sign up online, it's band.us, or you can download the app for your mobile device. This one is a secure, when I post something, the kids get notification, and most get up right away and see what I posted. See, we have pages for the band. I have one for drumline, or winter line, I have one for orchestra. And Jazz Band has one on Facebook too. It's not really a smaller group, so it's easier to communicate with them. Let's see what we have here. I think that's it. Yeah, so we're taking a look at our competition schedule right now. We do 4 competitions, 4 to 5. I'm sure we're going to pare it down a little bit this year because they changed the excuse me, they changed the rules for 1 year. And let me get it. Yeah, they changed the rules for 1 year, where they figured that about every music program is going to lose 20% of their kids. So all the classifications have changed, and that has moved us into a different classification. But unfortunately, if we lose 20% of our kids, we're going to move up a division and compete against much larger bands, because it's the way it is for us. So we really need to get started, with the marching basics. It's going to be for all our 9th graders, all our 10th graders. 11th graders going to have to do some review, because we haven't done much marching at all. I mean, we did some stuff online, but it's not the same as being out on the field, having them do commands online, watching the drum major and trying to march around the house or different things like that. It's not the same. So yeah, we're going to get started in August, and I think that's all I have for right now. If you have any questions, then you feel free.
So
to,
Howard, that was
put them together.
excellent information. You gave us a lot of wonderful resources online for parents. We're going to hold questions until the end. So that would be questions-Kristen is who you would submit questions for Howard to. But it sounds very exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing those students out on the field marching as well. So it's one of my favorite things in the world. So Shelley Wilkerson, our librarian, is going to speak to us about summer reading.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shelley Wilkerson, the librarian at the high school, and I'm really excited to announce that we will continue our summer reading program this summer after taking a year off. About 4 or 5 years ago, we started the summer reading program. For those of you who are not familiar, it is a 1 book, 1 school program. We provide a copy of the selected book for each student, and we ask that they read it during the summer. We try and select something that is really thought-provoking, that can be incorporated into all different classes, whether it's through writing prompts in English or some historical content in your social science classes. And we really encourage that discussion with all of our faculty. And in fact, we encourage our faculty to read the book as well, so that there is that communication. Throughout the year, we try and do different activities. We've done slam poetry. We had some people come in last year to teach the kids how to do slam poetry. So they met in with their English classes. And we've done quite a few different activities. So today, the students were given a short video, and I'm going to show that to you, hopefully, fingers crossed, to kind of announce the book. And then I will give you some additional information. Let's see. Okay, so I'm really excited. This year we have decided on a historical fiction book, We Are Not Free, by Tracy Chee. This is a Prince finalist, which is an American Library Association award. She made the finalist list. It's also a National Book Award finalist from last year. And she's gotten several accolades for this. We follow 14 young teenagers, Japanese American teenagers, right at the beginning of, right after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. They are in San Francisco, and we are introduced to some of the how do I even say this? The beginnings of the relocation or incarceration of the Japanese Americans. We learn about their different stories, their different circumstances, the fact that they're given, in some cases, days to pack up their entire living and sell whatever they can, because they can only take two suitcases. We start learning about how they are initially moved into horse stalls until they can have a more permanent location. And then they're moved to basically shacks, everything exposed to the elements, where they are forced to live behind barbed wires, armed with armed guards. And then they're asked to sign the loyalty pledge and asked to enlist in the army and put their life on the line when their lives have not been respected. So I'm really excited to have some great discussions. I think, unfortunately, we have not moved as far forward as we had hoped. I think there's a lot of connections to what's going on today. And I'm really hoping that the students will enjoy this. It really gives a great perspective. You know, it is not always the happiest, but I think we also get the perspective of these kids just wanting to be teenagers when they're forced to grow up and face this imaginable circumstance, so or situation. So I'm really excited. We will be organizing a distribution down at the middle school for the incoming ninth graders, as well as a distribution at the high school for everyone else. So I'm hoping you're all excited. I encourage you to join in and read with your students, and hopefully everyone will have a great summer reading. All right.
Well, that sounds very exciting. Thank you very much, Shelley, for the video. It sounds like a really important book that we'll all be able to discuss and share. So we will hold questions regarding the summer reading, Ms. Wilkerson, and we're going to move on to our principal, Janet Anderson, in any comments that she might have. And following her comments, then we, Kristen will start opening up the questions in general for everyone, aside from Anthony Chan. Go ahead, Janet.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming. We have a really healthy number of people here today. I feel like I'm batting cleanup. Hopefully I'll do as well as AJ Pollock did yesterday in the game with Milwaukee. One thing just to mention, we do have this extended learning opportunity money that the district got because we came back to school in a timely fashion and met several other barometers that were necessary for receiving some learning loss money, so to speak. And so what I'd love to have you do is help inform us about what you would like to see the district do this summer in particular, but also this money will extend into next year and next summer. So if you have some ideas, I'm going to ask that you put them in the chat, different than the question, Kristen, or questions-Kristen, but in the chat so it can be printed later and I can share it with Ms. Gervais at the district office. We have met with lots of different groups to get input, but we always want more. Usually somebody comes up with something that hasn't been mentioned before. And just like everyone except for Ms. Wilkerson before me said, we're in the planning stages. Things aren't cemented. One thing I want to say is that we do want kids to get involved in school as soon as possible. For those who are in the C groups and have stayed home all this time, I can just share with you parents that I'm hearing from parents whose children came back to school that they see pep in their step for the first time and a sparkle in their eyes for the first time in a long time. So we certainly want to encourage everyone to take advantage of whatever opportunities seem to match your needs this summer. Part of it, I think that it was helpful for the kids is that they, I think, had built the idea of the school as this dark hole that they couldn't imagine, and having them come back for orientations and then for class was really successful because it took that mystique about what is school like now out, and they realized, yes, this is a safe place, this is our place. And our orientations really helped with that. So this summer, we hope to change the way we've done orientations in the past when they were just for our new students, and maybe do an orientation that reaches out to all kids like we did this spring. At the elementary schools, they are planning a jumpstart program. The dates are still being finalized. They have to work around the elementary construction schedules, but the idea is to help those kids build confidence in some of the things that maybe they didn't feel that they achieved as well as they would have liked in this school year. The middle school, they had a meeting this afternoon. I am not privy to the plan they developed, but they were starting to develop a plan for students to have some summer experiences. And at the high school, as Stacy mentioned, there is the free district-sponsored credit recovery program through SPEF. And so that is really the majority of what we're offering academically to help students catch up. But Mr. Chan talked about camps. And I like to think of them more like clinics, but they could be seen as camps or clinics. It doesn't really matter. Someone in our school site council gave a really great idea, and it just took wing when we mentioned it to the district office folks. And that was offering students, even those who are not usually into athletics, or they don't want to be on an athletic team per se, but they want to be outside involved and socializing with people. So offering clinics like weightlifting, working out with the teams, because that can happen if our coaches want to make that happen. You know, that can happen for some sports. Things like a tennis clinic for kids who want to learn tennis. They may not be working out with the tennis team. They may have their own court while the tennis team is doing something else, but we've got those gorgeous new courts. And so we want to see people on those and using them. We really want all students to know that the facilities have something for each of them. So again, that's being fleshed out, but we had a meeting last Friday after a lot of little scattered conversations about how we could make that work. And so one thing I would love to have those of you who think your kids might be interested in some clinics and some camps this summer in the athletic area, please indicate if you think, yeah, that's a great idea to have them work out alongside the teams or with the teams, or if you think that would be intimidating and they would rather have their own separate workouts or something. Just give us an idea. We may not be able to do everything, but we'd sure like to know what would work best for the kids. And then just briefly, I want to address the idea of learning loss. I know that has everyone worried, but I'd like to kind of flip that on its side and say, yes, learning was different this year, but there was so much learned during this time away. A lot of things learned about interpersonal skills, about our own goals and how we face things. And those are things that I think are essential. The resilience that can be built through adversity like we've had, that's not learning loss. That is lifelong learning skills that can be used forever. So please talk to your kids about that. We are definitely trying to incorporate a lot of mental health and resilience and other programs to help the kids reflect on what they have learned. But when you're talking about academic learning loss and maybe you feel like the kids didn't get as far in this school year as they should have, what we're trying to do in particular with our world languages courses and with our mathematics courses, because those are the most sequential classes we have. This summer, we want to work to try to refine the scope, sequence, and pacing of those classes. So let's say your child was in Math 2. And to get to Math 3, well, maybe they didn't, there's not a confidence that everything they needed to get in Math 2 maybe there's a little gap before Math 3. So we want our teachers to recognize that and adjust to make sure that the students are getting what they need when they come into the next year's class. And so it's not just this feeling of always trying to tread water. And so that is one way we are addressing that, just adjusting. And then in a few years, things will even out. But we've got to realize the colleges aren't going to have all the same expectations exactly. Everyone is having to adjust to what we just went through. So I think, I feel like I find myself saying breathe probably too often, but we kind of have to breathe through this, support one another, and realize that we don't necessarily want to go right back to where we were before this happened. We want to capitalize on what we've gained in this time and also identify those areas where we have need and then address those. And so that has to be a concerted effort between all of us. I am going to preempt you a little bit with the questions because I heard questions about cheer. It's called PEP at South Pasadena High School. It's not competitive cheer, so it's not part of CIF or Mr. Chan's athletic program, but it is a really viable, much loved, much heralded program. There will be a meeting on the 10th of this month and tryouts on the 21st. And this will be for 8th graders, 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. There's a flyer coming, and so we're going to chase that down. Unfortunately, the woman who is most likely going to be our new advisor had surprise surgery this weekend, so that flyer might come out a day or two later. She's fine, and just be thinking about the 10th and the 21st, 10th for the meeting and the 21st for tryouts. And this is co-ed. So please, any student is welcome. And then let's see. Well, I think that is basically the question that I heard that I wanted to answer. And then when Mr. Chan talked about sports clubs, that would also be the whole clinic idea. And we're really trying to get that going. And hopefully we'll get a lot of kids out there seeing what it's like to socialize again. And maybe the athletic part is secondary to just being around people and enjoying their time and getting reacclimated to the school, or acclimated for the first time if they're 8th graders. So thank you so much. I look forward to working with you to hear your ideas and hopefully implement them over this summer and the next year or so.
Thank you, Janet. Wonderful words reflecting on what we've been through and how we can all move forward together. Kristen, would you like to start in with the questions that we have?
Yes. So we'll go back to Stacy Peterson. I'll start with you. The first question is, will teacher-led summer school classes use the full 5 hours each day in Zoom, or do you anticipate there will be some independent work during each day?
It's going to be based on every teacher is going to be a little bit different, but when we are in school in person, they use every bit of those 5 hours. Every day in summer school is a week of regular traditional school. So those times are pretty valuable. I know for sure AP or Honors Chem will use all 5 hours. And I wouldn't doubt if most of those one full year classes will use the full 5 hours. But it will be based on the teacher and what they're using to teach. They may assign different things, but in a typical in-person summer school, kids are in class and then they go home and do homework. So it is not, it's not easy.
Yeah. One parent asked, and she said I didn't need to announce it, but I figure if she's asking, other people might have the same question. What is a recovery class used for? Is that for when someone fails a required class during the school year?
Yes, if a student receives a D or an F in a class, an F is not, that you can't graduate with an F. It does not give you credits toward the class, and most colleges don't recognize Ds. And so to recover those classes, we have recovery classes over the summer. You can also recover classes during the regular school year. You do not have to do it during the summer. Just some kids want to because they don't want to have to worry about another class during the regular school year.
Okay, thanks. For the semester-long classes, are they 12 days or 5 weeks?
It depends on the class. We have health, we have different versions for those who are going to go on vacation. So we have 2.5-week versions. Those would be 5 hours a day. Or we have 5-week versions, which are 2.5 hours a day. So you can register for any of the above.
That was the best thing you ever did. And I can't thank you enough. When my son did it and it was only 2.5 weeks, it saved our whole summer. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you be a student counselor for a camp? You said they could volunteer, but is it like a student counselor? Is that what it is?
I mean, we can call it that. We can put whatever title you want on it. But they do get volunteer hours towards graduation. So it is a volunteer thing. It is not like extended daycare has the summer camp where they hire the counselors. Our camps, there's a lot of camps being thrown around. I like that Janet said clinics for the sports thing, so it doesn't get all confusing. But our camps surround some kind of a curriculum. So For example, the South Pasadena High School Coding Club actually puts on our coding camp for the younger kids, and they all get volunteer hours for that. We pay the person who's overseeing the class, but they get volunteer hours. So for art camp, we have a lot of artistic students that like to do the art camp every year. We have a science camp, but they're 1 week camps. So you're not committing to the entire summer. So I would just suggest your students look up on our camp webpage, see what camps they may be interested in, when they meet, and see if it works for their schedules. And then they can just reach out to me, and I will help get them set up.
Okay, great. And the question about how long the camps are, they were specifically wondering about world history. Is that a 5-week class?
That's a 5-week class. It's a full hour class, yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's a full year, so yes, it's a 5-week.
Great. It's my understanding that there's a summer program for math to bridge the gap, but not for this year. How is the gap bridged, and how do we know the math level that the kid will be at in high school?
I'm not sure of the question. We have bridge classes for, so if a student takes Math 1 in 9th grade and decides they want to go into the Accelerated Plus version, we offer a summer school class that's called the Transition 2 class, so that they receive the curriculum for Math 1 Plus that they would have missed in the regular Math 1 class. We have prep for math classes, which are credit, no credit classes. We have a prep for bio class, which is a credit, no credit. So they're not for grades, but if your student tends to struggle with math, or might struggle with biology, those are just great classes to get them used to the vocabulary and the language before they start school.
Okay, great. Leanne, if that doesn't answer the question, just text me back in the chat.
Yeah, or reach out to me. I mean, I'm happy to talk tomorrow if you want to get more specific.
Awesome. Is econ a 1 semester class, or how does that work for the summer?
It's a 1 semester class. So it's still a 5-week class though. It's not a 2.5-week class.
Okay, and is that a morning thing, or can you do morning or afternoon?
I don't remember. It's in the catalog. I want to say it might be period 1, so I think it might be a morning thing.
Okay, great. Okay, that's all the questions that I have for you for right now. I will let you know if I get some more along the way. So now I'm going to move back to Mr. Crawford. They want to know, is there a summer music program / camp for jazz?
No, there isn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have beginning band or orchestra?
For kids who've never played an instrument or something like that before, we don't. We have taken kids who like to play piano and want to be in the band, and they've learned some of the mallet instruments, and they've done very well doing that. But as far as learning the other instruments, we don't have an actual beginning band or orchestra class any longer. Every now and then I get a kid who really wants to do it, and they get the instrument and they're taking private lessons, and we kind of help them along, and they've been able to kind of catch up by the 2nd year. But as far as just beginners, we don't have beginning classes.
Okay. Do new kids have to audition to be in the jazz band?
Yes, they do. The reason why I have to audition them, because not only do you have to know how to read music and play your instrument, now you have to learn this new language of jazz. And if you don't have control of your instrument or reading, then you'll struggle trying to add this new element of the whole jazz articulation to it. So yes, they do. I haven't sent an audition bit yet. I've got a couple of questions earlier at the end of last week about that. But I just need to make sure that they, understand their instrument and understand how to do basic reading, so they can move into the jazz phase of it.
And are those auditions normally before school ends this year, or sometime over the summer?
They're before school ends.
Okay, great.
Yeah. I've been in contact with Mr. Farrell, and I'm going to send him that information probably this week.
Great. What are the typical time commitments for a marching band outside of class?
Well, the marching band class is basically 6 to 8 on Mondays and 6 to 9 on Wednesdays. They'll be signed up either for concert band or symphonic band, which they'll need during the days. But we do all the marching band stuff in the evenings, where we put it together. That way I have all the kids together, as well as color guard. Miss Cheney's in charge of color guard, but we kind of work closely together, put it all to one big performance with Miss Cheney in color guard, and I have a drum and percussion instructor, and I have the front ensemble, the mallet instructors, and then we have someone that teaches all the visuals and all the movements, and it's a big staff that we kind of put together to get everything going.
Okay, great. And does the marching band, is that only in the fall so that they
Only in the fall, and we finish before Thanksgiving break.
Okay. So can a kid do a sport and marching band, or should they just do marching band and do a later sport?
Well, I've had kids to do all kinds of sports in marching band, even varsity football in marching band. So it's possible. It's up to the kid. Yeah, I've had kids who leave varsity football practice and go home, shower, eat, and come back for marching band practice. And in senior year, change into the marching uniform to play for the halftime show, then back into the football uniform. So it varies. It is possible. It's up to the kid. It's up to the individual.
That's amazing. Okay. If a student misses band camp, is there a chance they will not be allowed to be in the band?
No, not at all. They'll just have to catch it. We catch them up because we have section leaders, to work with the kids, and if they miss band camp, it doesn't stop them from being in the band.
Okay, good. That'll save one student from being panicked. Can students participate in band camp if they're not planning to take band during the school year?
They can. I don't know why they would want to, but they can. Because we're preparing everything for the fall, for the school year.
It could be that we just have to convince our children. So we say, just do the band camp. You don't have to do band. We just, because and then they'll love. That's how I would do it with my kid. And then they'd love it so much that they'd probably do the rest of it. But
yeah, that's normally what happens.
Yeah.
Once you get in the band room, you can't leave. You're hooked.
It looks amazing. Okay, let me just make sure I didn't get any more. Is there piano in jazz band?
Yes.
Great.
We have 2 piano players.
And is jazz band a class or an extracurricular?
Class. All of my ensembles are classes. We don't have extracurricular ensembles. They're all classes.
Okay. Fantastic. I think that's all the questions I have for you for right now. So thank you. I'm going to move on to Ms. Wilkerson. I got to get back to those questions. They're somewhere here. Okay. Is the summer reading book required or optional but recommended?
It is recommended. That being said, if their English teacher decides to do an assessment, use it as a writing prompt at the beginning of the school year, they may just do that. So it's assumed that all students will have familiarized themselves with the book.
Okay, and for those parents who don't know, is it a book that we get to keep, the family gets to keep, or do we need to return it?
Yes, it becomes a part of your student's library. So that's one of the big bonuses. We have, over the years, through grants and such, and through PTSA and Miss Anderson, we've been able to actually purchase a book for every student. Yes.
Yay, that's awesome. And do we know when the book, we don't know when the book is coming out yet, right?
No, because of the unknown of this year and such. I am wearing a couple different hats this year, so I'm going to be reaching out to PTSA to see if I can get some volunteers for distribution.
We will totally be there. I know some Lion's Heart kids that can help out too, so however we need to do it. Is the school library at all open during the summer?
It is not. I am teaching summer school, so and since it's all remote this year, there's no one there for the summer.
Okay. Is it open right now while the school's open?
It's not open, but students, as they've been able to for the past year, we do book pickups, so they can request, put a book on hold online. And then if they are on campus, then we will deliver it to their English class. But if not, they can pick it up outside the front office.
Okay. And there was a follow-up, can they visit during study hall? I guess it's not really open, so they can't even come during study hall.
Unfortunately, not. We're not open.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all I have for you. I'm gonna go back to Stacy. It's just a question about why the high school summer school is all online when kids are back now.
Well, we originally have contracts with teachers because it started out completely online when we did it in February. So many teachers had already organized their lives, assuming they were, or organized their summers, assuming they were going to be teaching online. So also, we can't have as many students in a classroom. And since we don't get any federal funding to support PPE equipment and stuff like that, it's very it's not very cost effective for us to go back to school right now.
Okay, great, thank you. So just so everybody knows, this will be posted later. If anybody missed the beginning of it, we are recording and we will post it later.
One thing I do want to add about not going back is when we did the summer school survey, a huge amount of high school parents said that they would prefer to be online. And I think the kids preferred to be online for summer. So that was one of the reasons we went in that direction as well, as according to people who answered the survey in the high school level was overwhelmingly just stay online, as long as it was teacher led.
Got it. Did you ever consider, this was a question that came up, doing 2 sessions in the summer?
No, because the school needs to, it's really expensive for, so SPEF hires all the teachers, all the administrators. To split that into 2 sections, if we don't know that each session is going to be full, it really is just increasing the cost of what we're paying staff exponentially. And, you know, we could be paying everybody for 2 sessions and still getting the same amount of students spread between the 2 sessions, if that makes sense. So, and all the money we make for summer school goes directly back into the school district. So we really have to be cost effective.
Okay. Great, thank you. Now on to Ms. Anderson. So Ms. Anderson, I did get some of the notes to me directly, but I will save the chat for you so that you have everything later. Just a couple questions came up. One was, could clubs hold meetings over the summer?
They can. They don't usually because they kind of reform in the fall, but this might be a summer where we can encourage them to do that. They do need to have their advisor present, but in some cases that might be possible. So if somebody has an idea, they just need to talk to their advisor and get things going.
Okay. And is there any information for kids that want to start a club for the next school year, or does that just not happen until school starts?
Well, some people start sharing their interest in that early, but really when the school year starts, they have an opportunity to gather names so they have enough people showing interest in the club. They apply to be a club, they write a constitution and all sorts of things. So there's a little bit of a process to it, but it's really a great learning experience. And it's not something that deters kids because they have had some great ideas. And every year we have new clubs that are generated by students, many of them freshmen, who just are interested in a certain activity or charity or something. So definitely they need to start emailing Mr. Shotwell to let him know that they have an interest, and as soon as possible, they'd like to get the process rolling.
Great.
Mr. Shotwell is our activities director.
He's awesome. Do you, I don't know if you can answer this or not yet, but is there an expected time of day for the clinics to be expected to run, or could we expect them, some to be in the morning, some to be in the afternoon?
We could probably expect that, but most of our coaches, if they are the ones who are going to be doing them, most of them have jobs. So their coaching hours kind of depend on their outside other jobs. So some people work in the evening, so they might be great for summer mornings. Other people, vice versa. So it really depends on who we get to offer some experiences.
Great. Last question I have is just again about this. It's about the summer reading book, but it's more of your question, which I think is, how will people know when to pick up the summer reading book? And I assume that will be an email from you telling everybody when to come grab it.
Yes, and they'll be delivered to probably delivered to the middle school. That's how we've done it in the past, but maybe that'll be a drive-through too. That'll give us a chance to see our incoming ninth graders. And so we will see, but yes, there will be notifications through probably the Tiger Takeaway at the high school, the daily bulletin, or maybe we can do an announcement at the middle school. And then for parents not used to the high school yet, you'll be getting many calls and emails from me, generally at dinner time. It just so happens. It's not intentionally ruining your appetites.
It's either that your kid missed class or was late for class, or Janet's just sending you a message, and you're always hoping for it's just her sending you a message. So we think the books, there was a question, when do we think the books will come? They are actually already in. We just have to figure out how to get them to you. So they will be done before school ends. So you'll get them soon. And then there's one last, is there a date for orientation for ninth graders?
Well, it's usually the day before teachers come back. When it's the 2 days before instruction begins in the fall. But if we do it differently, if it's a more inclusive plan, that might change up a bit. But it's really generally right between when the students come to pick up all their registration materials and books and things, and when instruction begins. We wedge it in there, and it's usually a lot of fun.
So if we're planning for vacation, should we just plan to be back? We start the 12th. So should we plan to be back like by that Monday to make sure we don't miss our orientation?
Yes, and if you miss registration, what you will miss is getting your picture taken, the students getting their pictures taken for their ID cards, but we do a makeup in September, so that's not a tragedy. They can come anytime after you're back in town. They can come to the office and complete the registration. Of course, we want most people to do it during those registration days, so they'll be set and good to go and know where they're going for their classes. But for those people, and there always are some who can't make it, then they just come to the office, we take care of them and send them on their way to class.
Great. When do you think the summer programs that you've been talking about tonight will be available for sign up? Do you think that'll be before the end of the school year, or? Oh,
I sure hope so. We had a meeting, as I mentioned, on Friday. It was our first kind of formal meeting about it. And then we have one tomorrow. So we really are kind of putting the gas on this, the gas pedal down on this, trying to come up with a plan. And then it'll involve surveying the coaches to find out who is available or wants to help out with this endeavor, and also finding out what some of the most popular ideas are that the kids would like to do.
Is registration the Friday before school starts, or is there a different registration from orientation?
Well, that's a fine question. We're still finishing this year's calendar. So to look at next year's, I'm not quite ready. But generally, it is the Thursday and Friday, or Wednesday and Thursday. I think Thursday and Friday. I've only been doing it 21 years. Why would I know? Prior to school starting. So the end of the week before school starts.
And is that when you get your schedules, or do you get your schedules the next week?
You get them at registration. So so you'll know. But by June, I think 30th, I think by the time the kids leave school for summer, they get a preliminary, not schedule, but course list that says what classes they signed up for and what we plan to enroll them to take. And if there are changes, they just need to let their counselors know. The counselors come back early and take care of some of those things. Like if they take summer school and they have to change their course offerings, it'll be reflected in what they get when they come to registration, the locator card that tells them the actual schedule, what they have first period, what they have second period, and so on.
Okay, great.
And that probably was clear as mud, but the kids get it.
Awesome. Somebody said, is there going to be a similar in-person orientation for sophomores that missed out this year during the pandemic? And I think you said you're hoping to do it for all grades, right?
Yes, and if they came back this spring, they did get an orientation, but I know that a lot of them didn't. So yes, we would love to get them feeling really comfortable about where everything is on campus and who's available to them and so forth.
There's a question about athletics, but I think it's kind of for you, which is, by having the rosters by August, will this prevent my child from being assigned an academic class for 7th period? So they've had trouble changing out of a 7th period class once they make a spring team.
No, that's why we need to have it by the beginning of August when the counselors come back, so they can adjust that. Actually, when somebody asked earlier, is this how it's always going to be? Actually, it's probably going to be that most of the tryouts, at least for the fall season and perhaps winter, will be at the very end of the school year. It didn't make sense this year because of all the restrictions we have. But so that's why, the last chance to do it is just before August 1st. But in the future, we'd really love to get those tryouts going right about the time school is out. So then people know what they're doing and things are set.
Great. Will you be offering the PSAT for juniors this upcoming academic year?
If we don't have the class size restrictions and so forth, because one of the problems this time was that it is prohibitive to find enough proctors, and they should not be parents, but substitute teachers and so forth, enough proctors to cover all the different classrooms we would have had to use to satisfy the needs of distancing with as many kids who take it. But we're going into this next school year optimistic that we're going to be back to hopefully school as we knew it before, but with masks and hopefully some better hygiene and some more thoughtful hand washing and so forth. But that, yes, we're hopeful we'll be back to our full-size classes, and that would mean that we could accommodate the PSAT if we're back under those guidelines.
Fantastic. There's a question on what happens on those last 2 days of the school year after Memorial Day this year. Are there regular classes or are there finals?
Yes, we have finals. And for the seniors, the afternoon of Tuesday is for graduation practice. And the next day is graduation after finals. It's finals and then 5 o'clock graduation. So we don't waste time.
So seniors have their finals that day. They don't have earlier. Finals.
Most don't have a 7th period. And if they do, their 7th period teacher will have accommodated taking that final at a different time.
Okay.
So they don't have it. It's very rare that someone would have one on the morning of graduation. It's not that it hasn't ever happened, but teachers are really great about working with students to prevent that.
Fantastic. Okay, I think that's the last question I have. Stacy Peterson had to go, so she did give me her email address. So I'm putting it in the chat right now for everybody if there are any follow-up questions for Spef. That's her email. She's super responsive and awesome, so you can reach out to her at any time. And I have to say, pretty much everybody on the panel is super awesome and responsive. So you can always feel free to email all of them, and they do get back to you really, really well. And we're lucky to have everybody. So I'm going to pass it back to Jenny to finish us out.
So thanks everyone again. What an amazing turnout tonight for coming and joining us for this informational session. We really appreciate it. And we hope to bring you more soon. Everybody have a good night. Oh, it will be recorded. You can always come back and watch it on our YouTube site.
Thank you all.
Good night.